15. Dang, these microphones. I mean, we played a lot of energy. They ran zone the whole quarter, which took the flow out of it a little bit, and they did it in the Bay, which was we kind of knew we were prepared for, but had some contested looks that were tough, a couple turnovers that were tough that killed momentum. Just a tough way to finish. We are not a moral victory team by any stretch, but I can clearly say we played better tonight. Just got to keep building on that to get ourselves back on the right track.
You mentioned the zone. Steve kind of thought that's something you guys might see moving forward because it has been effective. What's kind of been the issue for you guys going against it?
I mean, it's designed to take you out of your patterns, to make you take shots you're not really guess comfortable with because it's not out of your normal, offense. But you have to put a lineup out there that's kind of predicated on shooting just to make sure you have the right spacing and just be decisive with what you're trying to do. I want to say the last 5 minutes, especially down in crunch time, you don't want to settle for the first open look, but sometimes in the zone, that's the good look. And that's obviously why they run it, because they want you to have to make a decision on quick shot versus best shot and then playing the shot clock. So with reps, we'll obviously get better at it, but they do have personnel, too, that can, put Jimmy at the top. He's pretty long and athletic to cover a lot of space.
Steph, both Draymond and Coach Kerr mentioned that there was a lack of stops in the fourth quarter, and they kind of credit that to the result of tonight. How do you guys patch up this lack of stops and perhaps a lack on defense earlier on in the season so it doesn't grow into a problem moving forward?
Just try to have better possessions on offense first. And, we had a couple turnovers that led to open threes in transition. I think the beginning of the fourth quarter, they got comfortable kind of lining us up from three. Certain guys that are out there for a specific reason, we let them get going. When you give up, 41 to Strus and Robinson, it's going to be tough, especially like you say, what they're out there to do, so you got to take that away, and we didn't. We just got to want it, Nobody's going to make it easy on us. We got to really want it.
Any thoughts on the late overturn call?
It's an awful call. What you think I was supposed to say? I was walking to the free throw line, thinking that I was going to get 3 free throws and, have an even score with a minute, some change left. It's a tough one. I clearly felt a lot of contact. I don't know what they saw besides the high five contact they talked about, but you got to be allowed to finish your motion, I felt like. Especially when you slow it down in the slow-mo, it's pretty clear there's a lot of contact. But what do I know about calls?
Another question for calls for you, because you know so much about them. You say Jordan was called for 3 carries, and Draymond was talking about how that's something that now if you're going to be calling some on one, you're going to have to be calling them on everyone, because as guards, every guard pretty much carries. What's your take on that?
Yeah, just be consistent. Let us know how you're going to call it, and that should be the standard every night so everybody can make adjustments. It's how the league works year to year, whatever the point of emphasis is and how the game evolves. And, it's only right that if you're going to call it and be consistent, we'll make adjustments and everybody will keep it moving. That's on them and it's on us to find that middle ground. And just seemed like there's going to be a little bit of an example made tonight, especially certain calls out in the open when it doesn't really impact the game much. I do get, like, there are some that are pretty blatant, and they're going to call them. But like you said, just be consistent. And
Unfortunately, couldn't get it done in the fourth quarter. What did you see in terms of just the team's energy today?
Yeah, I thought our energy was better at times, but we still got to put it together and win games.
They kind of went zone, looked like, down the stretch. Gave you guys some trouble. Steve said it's something he thought you might see moving forward. Why was that difficult?
I think they were flying around in the zone. They're lesser defenders that were on the floor at that time. They were able to hide with the zone, and we just didn't execute well. You got to try to get in the weak spots of the zone and attack it, and I don't think we did a good job of that.
Draymond, tonight's game had a very playoff-y taste, if you may.
Did it?
I mean, you guys went blow for blow in the fourth. And what is going to be the key to really closing out games like this that are happening so early in the season as you move on?
You just got to lessen the mistakes. What it boils down to at the end of the game is stops. And we have lacked these first 8 games in getting stops. And so in order to win games, close games down the stretch, you score points. That's great. But you have to get stops, and we just didn't do that, and they did.
They called Jordan for 3 carries. I guess it was something that they had emailed and said it was going to be an added emphasis. I mean, number one, did you guys know that? And what do you just think of, I guess, the new palming emphasis?
If you're going to call that, you better call it, because every guard in the NBA carries a lot. And some of the best ball handlers in the NBA carries often. So if it's a point of emphasis, then let's see it. But I'm not sure how many I've seen all year in a C3 in one game on one guy. So if it's a point of emphasis, great. But let's see it then. Yeah. Because what they get one, then I love Kyle. I love Jimmy. They're great. But they not carrying the whole game. So if we only got one, and I think it was on Caleb Martin or one of those guys in front of our bench. If it's only one, can't be too much of a point of emphasis. So would love to see it continue being called.
This Sportsnet Central update is presented by Drayton Resort and Casino.
Well, we got drama in Brooklyn. Not only did they lose tonight to Chicago, but earlier today, they fired Steve Nash after a 2-5 start. This was his 3rd season with the Brooklyn Nets. Just lasted 7 games. But more impressively, I guess, more shocking, is that they hired Ime Udoka, who was suspended for the season by the Boston Celtics. The Celtics said, you know what? Brooklyn, you can have him. It's okay. Of course, he led the Celtics to the NBA Finals this season ago against the Warriors. So he will be named the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets to try to fix KD and Kyrie. Let's hear from Steve Kerr on the Nash firing.
Well, Steve Nash is a good friend of mine. So more than anything, I feel for Steve, and I think he has all the qualities to be a brilliant coach. Brilliant. But it was a good reminder to me, and I think to all coaches, that we are all at the whim of players, front offices, ownership. You really need a solid situation in which to thrive as a coach in this league. Eric's got one here. I've got one in Golden State. We're really lucky. You throw either one of us in that situation, we wouldn't have done any better than Steve. And that's the truth. As a really good friend of mine, I feel bad for Steve, but I also know that if he ever wants to get back in this thing, he could be great. Just needs a more stable environment.
Nick Friedel, a.k.a. Cousin Nick. That's how we know him on the roast, Fezzi and Mully. KD said he was shocked by Nash's decision to leave, said it was weighing on him during the day.
Hold up.
I enjoyed coming to work with
Wait,
Steve.
hold
As from
on.
Kevin Durant, of
I'm
course, former
confused.
two-time champ with the Golden State
I'm
Warriors.
confused. Well, that would make sense to me because that's what Steve Nash has been his entire career. Every teammate he's had, every coach he's played for, love and adore him. He's a humble superstar like Steph Curry and Tim Duncan. So he deserved better. A lot of uncontrollable circumstances around him. And Steve Kerr said he feels bad for him. I actually feel good for him. I think he deserves way better.
Yeah.
And if another opportunity comes and he wants to get back into coaching, he'll do a wonderful job. But that was just uncontrollable circumstances, borderline a circus atmosphere.
Right. Flatbush Avenue, Brooklyn, Mulley's hometown, Festus.
What do I want to talk about with this situation? Because I'm really confused by that tweet because I thought earlier in the season he was asking for his firing. So I don't want to get into all
That was
this
his hand-selected head coach.
Well, the wording, sometimes, I've been let go of different jobs, right? So sometimes, you part ways. But did Steve walk away? Was he for? Who knows the dynamics? The fact of the matter was, his tenure was, surrounded by Kyrie playing the only home game, or the whole all the things around Steve. And when he actually had the talent on the court, they almost went to the NBA Finals.
Right.
So tough situation. Steve Nash deserves better. Better off he takes a little break and figures out what he wants to do.
Yeah,
Are you shocked Ime Udoka is going to be coaching them?
I'm actually happy for him. My Nigerian brother over there, and obviously with the situation going on in Boston.